I had previously in my old house, red and black ones of that, literally. So it was like red, black, red, black. It was cool. And then I got rid of them, and I'm like, why did I do that? It was so stupid to get rid of it.
You love your red. I say I love the color scheme that you put together in your
I
little
do.
office. It looks awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, the office I have to give credit to Riley for. She helped definitely design that.
Always the way. Always the way.
Always. So let's just jump right in, Dan. I appreciate you taking the time to be here. I'm glad that we were able to set this up. I've been wanting to do this with a couple of people, you being one of them on Instagram, who I have been following for a while and I find value in because, you know, I'm always about value over anything else. So when I
Yeah.
see all these people on trading, and we can talk about this a little bit, just the hashtag Forex, the hashtag instant millionaire BS, right? When we see that stuff, it's like so easy to get sucked into it. But then guys like you and me, I think, stand out. Guys that are
Totally.
creating their own content with their own color scheme. Yours is yellow, mine is red. So you have that branding aspect of it. It's a real business. It
Yeah.
stands out. So I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you creating content that helps the trading community. And then
Likewise.
hopefully today, yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Hopefully today at the end of this conversation, the people that listen on YouTube and on the podcast and everything we put this, hopefully they take some value from it too. So
Definitely.
let's just jump right in. Tell me first where you're from, how long you've been trading Forex, and if you want to even give us some information about why you chose Forex as a market, that would be awesome.
Okay, so I'm from the UK. I've been trading a little over 6 years now. I got into trading much the same as most other people, I think, to be honest, in the sense of I got pulled into the Lamborghinis and the laptops next to swimming pools and kind of believed this ludicrous dream that it was all kind of possible. Within a month, I blew multiple accounts. I got completely ripped off by various signal providers, and it took me to a point, it took me to a really low point actually, where I think I was physically ill because of it. And I think I drew to the conclusion maybe 6 or 7 months in, okay, if I really wanted to make this happen, I was going to have to just do it for myself. It was never realistically going to work, following someone else's kind of fake dream and the bullshit that they were putting out, because it
Yeah.
just doesn't exist. It literally doesn't exist. And I think it's same as everyone. It's like the slimy ads that you see that pop up, but it makes you kind of think, when you don't know what Forex is and you don't know how the markets work, I think you kind of, anyone that sees that stuff is kind of there to say, well, is it real? And you have to physically see for yourself that it's not before you believe that it isn't.
Well,
So
think about it
it's
like like anything else, you find a lot of the time, not everything, but a lot of the time, the majority is not always right.
sure.
People end up following like almost a herd mentality, sometimes behind the wrong idea. So
Yeah.
when you sprinkle that into an industry like you just said that has the scammy image a part of it, and you're talking about money, now you've kind of put three things together that normally make a really ugly soup. And that
Of course.
again, it's kind of even to the point of what I said at the beginning of like why I wanted to get people like you and me on, because I think it's important to bring our value into the world because it
Sure.
fights through that scammy kind of stuff. And it also, what
Totally agree.
I'm finding is it stands out. And
Yeah.
I would want, have you noticed that like when you talk to people on Instagram that they're like, dude, I can tell you're a real person because I can just see the content. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
You
The
get it
scamming
every
accounts
day.
are so
Yeah.
easy. Do you ever
It's
feel bad for people? Like when people come to you and they're like, I got scammed on this Bitcoin thing or I got scammed on that. I kind of feel bad, but almost not really anymore because it's like, don't you do your own research? Don't you do like, you know what I mean? Don't you know?
I do, but yeah, at the same time, yeah, I do, but I don't. But I think sometimes now, because I'm educated in it, so now I kind of sit there and think, come on, really, like, are you that naive? But at the same time, I sit there and think, really, come on, I was that naive at one point. So it's
Dude,
kind of like I
absolutely.
mean, it's a double-sided sword, really, isn't it? Because it's
Well,
like
think
they
about
kind of need to see that to get into it.
dude, is exactly what I was going to say. Because if you and I, if people like you and me didn't go through that, you probably wouldn't be in the position that you're in now. We
Near
wouldn't
enough,
be.
guaranteed,
I
guaranteed,
like
yeah, 100%.
we both have gone through the signal services, different ones,
Yeah,
the same ones, I'm sure, a couple of times. I lost $3,000 where I got 3 grand together of my own money, and this was
yeah,
probably 3, 4 years ago. So I had 3 grand of my money, 3 grand of another friend, 3 grand of another friend. We all were like, okay, we need 10. So let's just all chip in a little bit and everybody will get some. Dude, we lost all that money in a second.
yeah. I'm
We
not
put it through a
surprised.
money order. Just dumb, just stupid.
Wow.
But like you said, you don't know until
Sure.
you actually put your foot in the water. So when was it that you found Forex? What year was that?
Just the end of 2014.
Nice. So
So,
you've
but
been
I
in it.
mean, I was in a pretty good position, the money that I put into it. So I'd just been made redundant, and I was
Gotcha.
kind of sat in an office. I'd finished everything I needed to do earlier than expected. So I was sat in an office, me and another guy, and we had literally nothing to do. So I discovered trading. I found trading and was pulled into dodgy brokers, plus 500, all sorts of stuff that just isn't the right way to go. And I mean, I was one of the fortunate people in this, I truly think, because not only one did it give me some really valuable lessons that, as you say, I now wouldn't be in the position that I'm in without those lessons, but I think it also kind of, I lost money that I didn't necessarily need because it was
Sure.
kind of a redundancy payout. So it wasn't like some people, they go into this and they do it, and like the amount of messages, you must get the same as well. People that message and they say, I'm down to my last like 400. I desperately
And
need to make this work.
they're
And it's
still
just
trying
like,
to trade you.
this
Like,
isn't going to work.
stop.
Yeah,
Right. Right.
honestly, it's just, if it don't be getting, especially if you're new to it. Like, fair enough, if you've been doing this for years and you know what you're doing, put that money into an account and go for it like one last pump. But for someone that's brand new to just take their last bit of money, like, please go and feed your children or pay your rent or do something with that money, because it's just a recipe for destruction.
When you put that pressure on yourself, I feel like that's what it is. You create this push on the market. And what
Yeah,
I like to envision it as, like in most things in the universe, if you push on it, it runs away from you. Like when you
yeah.
want to talk to a girl and you're all in her face and you're screaming at her and you're trying to be some cool dude, you push on that, bro,
It's
she's
not
going
going
to
to
walk
work.
away.
Yeah,
But when you're sitting there acting cool, just having a regular conversation, just letting it come, next thing you know, she's going home with you. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So the same way the trades will kind of come to you, they kind of almost fall into your lap when you're
sure.
not, oh my God, I got my last hundred
And
dollars in the account. I need to trade this $100 account and get it up now to 500. It's like,
I
come
can
on.
completely vouch for that, because when we went full time in this, and that
Yeah.
was June last year, for the
Yeah.
first 2 months, I was really aware that I needed to hit a set amount to be able to pay everything I had to pay all my bills, and still be able to have the same account size at the end of the month. And when I was
True.
aware of that, my trades really suffered. I really struggled to get trades
Absolutely.
on. I really
Absolutely.
struggled to hold the trades as well. The moment I kind of said, actually, I've been doing this for years and I've been making the right decisions, forget the monetary side of it. Just ignore the money, focus on the charts, focus on what you know you can do, and focus on the damn pips. Stop looking at the pennies and pounds or like the dollars and cents for you, and just literally focus on what it was you came for. If you came for 100 pips, take your 100 pips. Stop looking at 10, 15 pips and saying, I need to bank that because I need to put that in the pot for the end of the month. And I think that made a massive impact in kind of the whole kind of pot of ingredients in becoming successful, was not ignoring, but forgetting and pushing the money to one side and strictly focusing on the charts and the trades and not putting a monetary value next to stuff. It's so damaging.
It's hard though. Like what you're saying is so difficult for anyone that's new to do, because think about it. It's like you come into trading for the money, but now
True.
the guys that are trading successfully, like you and me, we're telling everybody, hey, you're actually going to need to put the money aside if you want to get good at trading. It's like, oh,
Yeah,
wait, bro.
sure.
What are you talking about? You know what I mean? Nobody wants to hear that, but it's really cool because I think we become like a select group of people. I don't like the word elite. It's got a bad rap, but we could become like a select group of people that actually like to be disciplined, actually like to lean into the hard things. It's like a group of high achievers, you would think.
Sure.
Most successful traders want more for themselves. They're constantly driving. So it's
Sure.
like you put that now we have this select group of people that really understand it. Like we said before, you almost know that at the end,
Yeah.
you need to go through those thoughts. You need to go through those emotional reactions to then get through it almost. Do you think that that's the same characteristic in people that entrepreneurs have, and that's why you see a lot of entrepreneurs become successful as traders, because they have that risk-taking ability?
You kind of have to, don't you, I think, to really kind
Right.
of find success in doing it. But I mean, the word entrepreneur for me is such, like, it leaves such a bad taste because there's so many people that have abused that word over the last, like, I mean, it's been like the last 2 or 3 years, so many people
Yep.
attach it to everything. And it's like, just because to scam people does not make you an entrepreneur. Like, to be an entrepreneur, I think you have to do things that other people aren't. And it's not that they can't do them, it's that they physically just don't. Like, as you said, being really disciplined and motivated. I know like a handful of successful traders, and I think all of them have a very similar formula that makes up what they do and what makes them physically successful. And that is that everything is structured. Like, you're a big believer in writing down your goals. Like, I took that from
Yep.
you. Me and my wife do that on a day-to-day basis. So powerful, makes a massive difference, because when it's on paper, it's real, and you attach an emotion to it and you go and get what you want. So everything, exactly. And everything needs to be structured and disciplined. Otherwise, you just kind of, you can keep busy, but it's like the saying in the UK is like, you're just a busy idiot. Like, you're not actually achieving anything. You're just kind of wombling through the day.
That's a good saying. I like that.
It's true though. It's true. I've noticed, like, I started probably about 18 months ago. I was finding that I was really busy, but when I'd get to the end of the day, I'd sit there and I'd look at everything that I had to do at the start of the day, and I'd go, well, how much of it have I actually achieved? Well, maybe one or two things out of a list of 10. Well, why is that one or two things not 10? Because there was no structure, there was no discipline. And yeah, sure, I need to do that, but I'd rather be doing this. So I
Right.
found that by structuring it and just getting the really kind of, it's like you're structuring it to get the stuff done that's got value. So everything kind of needs to be done, but what is going to bring you and the people around you more value? And you focus on that and you knock all of these things out of the way. And before you know it, you're closer than you actually think. By the time you can get to that point, you're so much closer to it.
That's very true. I feel like the structure is what keeps you accountable, basically.
Yeah,
And without that accountability, how can you expect to grow?
sure.
But even to the goals point, like that one point you mentioned, I'm glad that you guys started doing that. That's something that Riley and I do often. I feel like, again, it just to me goes back to accountability. If you're not writing it down, two things happen. Number one, you're not likely to manifest it as much. And number
Sure.
two, you're running away from the insecurities and the issues that you're actually having. And then for me, I did that in my trading for a long time. I've been talking about this a lot because it seems like people like to hear when other people struggle, but it's
Mm,
funny because like it's true. I struggled for a long time in my first year and a half, 2 years of trading, just getting accountable to my test trades, my ideas that I thought were ideas following my
sure.
plan. I put real money into them. They're not on the plan. They're not on the edge. They don't deserve the real money, but I'd still do that
Of
and
course.
then ignore it. I wouldn't even go back and, oh, that was just a test. I'm just messing around, just whatever. That killed me. So then that showed me for the rest of my life now, I have a great reference point of time that I wasted walking around like an idiot, or however you guys say in the UK, right? That's what I was doing by not being held accountable. So from goals to trading plan to anything you want to accomplish, I think you have to write it down in order to make it happen. My accountant JD
100%.
is so stupid. I tell him all the time, it's the stupidest quote ever. If you want to make something happen, the first thing you got to do is write it down. I'm like, that is so dumb. But then I'm like, oh shit, that's actually pretty smart when you think
It
about it.
really
It's like
does
how many
work though.
it works. Think about how many things you want to do and you tell yourself in your head and you never say it out loud and you never write it down. It's like it's
And then it's
just
gone.
exactly. So when you write it down, you're more likely to manifest it, you're more likely to make it happen. And I feel like as entrepreneurs, going back to the previous point, when we juggle all of these different things, it can get tricky to stay busy and productive and not just
Yeah.
think that you're busy but not wasting that time like you said you were. So when you found yourself wasting all that time, what did you do to get yourself back on track to stop wasting time? Because I get a lot of questions from people. What do I do when I'm not trading? If there's no good setups, what do I do? For me, I have these calls all day, every day. I've got this schedule full of things because I'm building multiple businesses. But not everybody is like that. So
Sure.
what do you tell people when they've asked you that, or how do you find that balance?
For me, it's kind of it's something called I think the right saying for it is black box thinking. So it's kind of really it's like taking a third person perspective on yourself and kind of assessing yourself like as human beings do. We seem to do to everybody. We're really good at assessing and criticizing what other people do, but I think a lot of people fail to actually kind of assess and not beat themselves up, but criticize the decisions that they make and the things that they're doing. Because nine times out of 10, I think when you sort of deflect negativity onto someone, it's exactly that. You're deflecting your own negativities onto someone else. I think Gary Vee's like a big believer in that. Like, love Gary Vee, massive
It's
fan
true
of
though.
Gary Vee.
Listen, it's true. The people that will hate the most normally are hating themselves the
A
most. It's
hundred
sad.
percent.
It's
So
sad.
it's kind of that's for me is what it is. You did a story the other day where you'd said you were laid up on your sofa and you'd said about start giving yourself credit. So I believe that as well, and I definitely think that that's important to kind of build
Definitely.
your own confidence because you've got to be confident in doing this. But
Well,
I
we
think at
talk
the
way
same
more
time,
negative to ourselves. You know what I
yeah,
mean? If you think about how many words you say to yourself in a minute, there's
yeah,
some science behind it. It's thousands. And a lot of it normally is more negative than positive. And Dr. Brett Steenbarger talks about this all the time, how if you whitewash the positives by just being negative, you're literally reinforcing negative behavior almost, because you're not even paying attention to the positives. And I'm like,
Sure.
damn, that is true.
I definitely agree, but I still think you need a portion of kind of remaining grounded and at the
Yes.
same time still looking at the things that you do and some of the stuff that you're maybe just assessing the decisions that you make and assessing how is your day planned, how is your day structured, like realistically, what are you hoping to achieve today? Because if you're
Do
not
you
going to
find
do anything towards it, you're not going to get anything out of it.
do you find that keeping a structured calendar every day, time blocking things in, do you do anything like that, even as a trader, somebody who
I mean,
doesn't need to?
I personally, I have the memory of a chicken nugget. So if I don't write stuff down, I'd forget, honestly, I'd be forgetting all day long. Like I'd forget to tie my shoes if
Dude,
there was a
that's
note
me.
attached to
That's
it.
me. I got it on the notebook. I got it in my calendar. The whole it's I needed all these because
I'm the
otherwise
same, totally the
that's
same. There has to be a structure, and I have to have reminders. And I'm cool to get on with it. Like I'm quite a self-motivated person in the way
yeah,
you have to be. You physically
yeah,
have to be. But I think it's not a case of being lazy. It's just a case of being downright forgetful. But at the end of the day, that's not an excuse because I've done something about it. But I think even people with a good memory benefit from having an organized structure. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And I feel like because you need to like for most traders that I see that are consistent, they have this obsessive personality. That's what really leads them to staying alive long enough to being consistent.
Yeah.
And that obsessive personality can be a bad thing if you don't tame it the right way.
A
So
hundred
for
percent.
me, I have to make sure that I'm doing something physical. I've got to make sure that I'm spending time with the cats. I've got to make sure I'm spending time with Riley, not on work stuff. So all these other pieces that I have to literally schedule into my day sometimes are important because it forces me to still be that robot, be on that structure, but still be balanced within the structure. And I
Of
think people
course.
struggle with that. They're like, how do I find out what time I should wake up? How do I find you got to build it for you. That's what I always
Yeah.
tell everybody. You build a routine that you love because if you're forcing yourself to do something, you're not going to
It's
produce
not
your
going to
best
work.
work.
I totally
Yeah.
agree. I say that
And
to so many people. I don't know. Do you ever find that you get people that join you guys in what you're doing? And obviously, your main aim and focus is to physically educate people and prevent them going away and being sucked into this BS kind of life that is being created around Forex. But do you ever find people come to you and they really want it, but they don't enjoy it? They're kind of attached and they're obsessed with the fact that there is money involved. Because for me,
absolutely.
there obviously is. There's massive amounts of money to be made here, which is brilliant. But for me, it's only ever going to work if you actually enjoy charts. You have to enjoy an aspect of this that gives you an edge as a trader, whether that's like the fundamental side of it, the analysis side of it, whatever that is. I think if you don't enjoy it, you physically can't find success doing that. Do you think that's fair to say?
100%. You have to not only enjoy it, I think you have to be passionate about the reward that it brings. You can
Mm.
enjoy the act of trading and getting up and doing that, but what has to be, I think, even more is the potential of, okay, if I do this every day, I can write my own ticket, I can be financially independent. If that drives you, then it's like, yeah, you got to enjoy it. You got to get up, you got to enjoy that process. It's definitely better than picking up trash. But I think what you need to be tapped into even more is, like I said, that underlying piece. But as as people come into trading, there's I think you see it very clearly two different types of people. The types of people who are really here for the money, and when they realize how long it's going to take, they kind of fade out, or they
Hmm.
go bounce to a different strategy a couple of times before they fade out. Or you see the people that are like, I'm not really here for a get rich quick. I'm really here to settle in and I
The
want to
long
learn
term.
something that can build me. Yeah. And those people, they do really, really well. And I think it's only because of the perspective. Like they take a certain perspective to it. And that's the only difference. There's no drink, there's no pill, there's no drugs, there's no nothing
Sure.
different except they're looking at it with different glasses.
Yeah. I totally agree. I always say when anyone joins with us, I'll go through kind of like a consultation to find out what they've been through before, what they're kind of up to now. And I like to make a point of saying to everyone is we can give you the tools to go and physically do this, but ultimately the work needs to come from you. There's no like, and I think so many people are pulled into thinking they see a guy with a Lamborghini or they see a guy flashing trades where he's earned $20,000, $30,000 a day, and
You're like hold
ultimately
the phone out with the money in the background. It's
exactly
like
that.
and it's crazy because people, but like two things, like I could go to the bank or the safe and I could take the money out, take a picture. But is
Sure.
that doing anything? And then on
I
top
know.
of that, let's make this even easier, bro. I'll buy fake diamonds that shine better than real diamonds. I'll buy fake money that looks like real money and I'll get a lot of it, way more than I really have for cheap. And I'll take pictures with that. If that's, you know what I mean? If
But the
that's
thing
what's,
that's so wrong is that would get you a lot of attention.
yep,
That's what
but
I
that's,
find so kind of, I wouldn't say demotivating, but like it really is quite depressing to think that people actually buy into it and put their house on the line to believe something that just isn't physically there.
but think about it like this, right? If we didn't have those people that took that side of the trade looking for, that shortcut to success, you would
Mm,
not be able to see the value and build relationships with powerful people that are on the other side of that. And that's where I
totally.
found that is so much more valuable to me, the relationships and the smart people that I get to work with for years. That overpowers how it makes me, because it makes me feel the same way as you. I feel bad. I feel just negative towards those people and towards that. But what I just try to, again, perspective. The perspective is I'm going to look at the people who I am able to find because I deal with that crap, that these people are so much more valuable to me than I'll deal with those headaches, those small little things. And it's all relative too. As we have gone through this, I mean, you've been around as long as I have, if not longer. You've seen the IML, the wealth generators, the multi-level marketing companies back when they were selling energy drinks. I don't know if you remember
Yeah.
Vima, like all these right? They always just bounce around and they attract those get rich quick, let me make this Lambo money kind of lifestyle people. But guess what? I was an IML. It was a way to get in the door. But I wanted to ask you, how did you get into the door of Forex? Was it through a multi-level marketing company, or was it just you and your buddy just sitting around like you said you just found it?
Yeah, I'd say not as such. For me, it was more just a case of, as I say, I was sucked into seeing the Lamborghinis and thought, I want that. Like I've got a nice pot of money sat here that can sit in the account and do nothing, or I can go and do what the next guy's doing. And so it was just a case of an affiliate scheme, signing up with a broker, getting a free trial, losing the money, and being stupid enough to believe that, the next guy will be different and doing the same again. And I went through two people doing the same thing, and lost a total of £1,400, and then went and blew the similar amount actually by myself. And and even then, that was so stupid. Like I've made every single mistake you could probably think of when I got into it, and as much as genuinely thinking, okay, I'll start with £300, that'll go fine, and just over leveraging, man, just literally just thinking, oh wow, this is insane. I had £300 this morning and I got £500 this afternoon. When in actual fact, I didn't realize there's another side to this coin, and as much as if I've gained that much, I can lose that much in a day as well. And I had no concept of risk management, even though I'd lost two accounts before that. Like I thought I was a fast learner, but that kind of made me think
It
maybe not.
rechecks, yeah, it checks the whole system. You know what I mean? Because I fell for the same uh, traps because the unregulated brokers are so easy to find. They're
Of
so easy
course.
to find. Dude, you can fund them with a credit card right there.
Yeah.
You should throw a flag. You know what I'm saying? Like it just doesn't make any sense. But on the topic of those brokers and those just that negative aspect of our industry, I find too a lot of the guys that aren't really trading but are promoting themselves as traders are actually linked to brokers where
Of course.
they're getting paid basically if you sign up with my link. I don't
Sure.
even need to take trades. You just need to trade with my link and I'm going to make money trading.
Sure.
So it's like there's a lot of gray area, and that gray area I think takes certain people out of the business completely. They get discouraged, they get burned out, they run out of money. But what kept you going after you lost those two big whacks and kept refunding? Like, where did you see? Because like, there's no way you were sitting there and you were like, all right, I'm blowing accounts, and I think I got risk management down, but I really don't have risk management.
For me, it was literally just a case of I sat there one night and was like, the money that I might as well have set fire to it in my garden, but that money I could have spent on my kids. I've got two kids. And I literally just sat there and was like, we could have gone on holiday. Like, I could have bought them this. We could have done this. We could have done that. And instead, I've literally just thrown it out a window. And then it was kind of like, I took about a week off of it. As I say, I think it physically made me ill. It put me in quite a deep, dark place that thankfully I was able to get out of. But I genuinely think that was kind of the drive that got me out, and just the thought of if it's possible to lose this, through being naive and stupid, it must be possible to be on the other side of the table and be clever with this and make the money. And I'm not going to say that I then went away and came back a week later, like in a perfect world, yeah, I came back a week later, I learned how to manage risk overnight and I made all my money back. That's not what happened. Like it took probably a solid 18 months for me to get back to a break even point. And then my wife started trading. I don't know if Riley trades, but my wife started trading. At that point, it just kind of it exploded into this kind of creative well because all I was trading was price action. So I was literally just scalping candles, but I'd learned to implement risk management into that, which I had no concept. Like when I started, I wasn't even using the stop loss. It was just like mad over leverage and just wait for it to go blue, see a figure that makes your eyes light up and click close. There was no kind of real analysis or bias behind it. So I implemented that and my wife was learning structure. And then it was just like, okay, let's switch roles here and let's kind of, let's mix both up and kind of come up with a mash of like a trading strategy. And that was where it kind of, from that point, that was where I was like, okay, now I'm above a break even point and it's a case of remaining grounded and never going back. I think it's really important for anyone that has ever blown an account. I did an Instagram post on it a little while ago that just said, if you've ever blown an account, if your signal provider has ever blown your account, they did you a favor. Because if you want to be successful, you need to go through this. You can't be successful until you've blown an account, until you've lost money, because how are you supposed to know how to manage risk and then successfully manage risk if you don't know how it feels and what happens when you don't? There's no real way of kind of, you can't get an artificial feeling to reflect that.
Sure. At some point, I think most people end up taking that loss. Even if they come in and they try to think they have risk management down, they still end up letting those human bias letting it creep in at one point, and then that does cause you. But you can actually, like, work around that with certain rules and things like that. But leading down the path of like, she was trading structure, you were trading price action, did that show you that, I want to know, were you more closed-minded to the ideas of new ways of making money before that? And that kind of showed you that there's more than one way to make money trading. It doesn't have to be this way is the right way. There's multiple ways.
I mean, if I'm being honest, I didn't have a clue. I discovered literally by sitting there and looking at it and focusing on the candles and kind of the anatomy of candles, solely focusing on that, what was happening. And then my wife was so supportive of it. Even once I'd blown the accounts, lost it, kept coming back to it. And it was always a case of, if you see weight in this and you see it working, then make it work and go and do it and show me why it can. And then my wife started trading without me actually knowing. It was kind of like I had notes on a laptop. I was going to work. So I was an area sales manager. So I was out working on the road, came home one day and my wife was laughing. And
she's got the laptop open, she's looking at everything.
Literally sat there looking at my notes, and she'd been trading for like 2 months, and she was up on the account as well. And I was just like, what's going on? Like, how have you done this? And then she ran through and started explaining stuff, and I was just like,
That's
what?
Amazing.
Like I was blown away by I was just like, none of this, like this is foreign to me. This doesn't even mean anything. Like, let me have a look. And I went back through some of my trades and was like, holy shit, the ones where I've lost money, I've gone completely against what you would have been doing. And the ones where I've made money, it's kind of like a mix match of the price action and the structure are both saying the same thing. So I'd got really lucky in effect that I'd made money, but it was just like, shit, like how could I have been so blindsided to not physically see that actually it gives you a clue. There's this structure is physically there and it's there for you to kind of see and find it. And it was just like, yeah, it was a massive eye opener. And then we started looking at all sorts of stuff. So it opened another tin of worms because it was just like harmonic patterns and everything was kind of like, wow, what's this? What's that? And I spent probably 6 months then bouncing from one thing to the next, which did so much damage. It's unbelievable.
Strategy bouncing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what caused you to realize that you had to stop doing that?
I think it was probably once I tried like the 50th strategy and like my 100th indicator.
You're like, this is not the strategy or the indicator that's wrong here. There's something else.
And it was kind of as well, like I come to the conclusion that a lot of the strategies, whether you're trading patterns or Fibonacci or Elliott wave, a lot of this stuff is exactly the same. It's just a different perspective. and it's just you're putting a different graphic depiction on the chart, and it's obviously certain things make sense to different people. So for me, it was patterns, and it was just a case of looking at what other people were doing and going, well, actually, that guy's called that something completely different, but he's doing exactly what I'm doing with this. And it was kind of like, stop dancing from one thing to the next now. This works for you. Focus on this and stop kind of just block the noise out.
Why, out of all the noise that you've had to block out, what was the final straw when you were like, I'm not following any more of these people. I'm not, was it that you were on the internet looking for new strategies and you were like trying to find the best chat room?
So a mate of mine sent me an indicator that I could download and install, and it gives you arrows. It tells you when to buy. It tells you when to sell.
Arrows, or the light up green balls, or the light up red
I was
balls.
just like,
When
wow.
it turns red, I can sell it, and when it turns green,
I had like a crystal ball moment in my own head. It was like the light bulb went off. It was just like ding, and it was just like, what a load of crap. And instantly I was just like, I've been believing stuff like this for the last 4 or 5 months, and it all felt so ridiculous. And it was just like, went through my phone, deleted so much stuff, left so many chat rooms, and just stopped bothering with anything that wasn't what was kind of like the core of the trades that I were taking. So how did you discover, because your trading strategy, you focus a lot on divergence and stuff from what I can see. How did you discover that? How did you kind of develop your trading strategy?
So the first strategy doesn't use divergence for entry, but it does use divergence to identify trades that I don't want to take. The divergence strategy actually came because we were using it so often. And that's a newer strategy. But the thing that I've been like I call it my bread and butter strategy. I've been using it for about 5 years. It hasn't changed much. It's modified slightly, but it's a breakout strategy, and it really hasn't changed. It's very technically driven. And I developed it by really, the easiest way to explain it is I was using a set of indicators, and I realized that if I just tweaked them all to stay consistent, meaning I set them where I should set them, and I 8 EMA, 20, stop changing between the EMAs, leave them alone. If I left them alone and I would back test chart after chart after chart, I would look at where the moves were and if there was any patterns showing in the bigger moves in either direction. I was just looking for a pattern just based on price action. And that ended up showing me something. And then I learned more about structure and why the patterns were happening where they did, and it made sense. And then that was all kind of brought together when I realized in 2016 that majority of trading is actually done by robots, algorithms. Then it made a lot more sense to me, because then I'm like, okay, now I understand why price paints in patterns, because it is algorithmic trading for the most part. Now, of course, there's times where it's not, but a lot of the trading is done by robots, which run on formulas, which would make that it would logically tell me that formula could create a pattern, and that's what I'm seeing potentially. So it made sense, and then that kind of developed into now what we call the D1 and the D2 strategies, and that's my divergence signals. So I rely on 3 really specific patterns, and that's where I found my niche, because like you were saying, out of everybody that I've talked to in this business, I'm probably the closest one to the crackhead. I'm the closest one to the gambler that'll go and blow it all just to blow it all just to play. So I have to keep that part of me in check when I show up to trading, which is why it has to be so precise. I can't do what some of these other guys do where they just feel their way around. Dude, I'll feel my way broke. You know what I'm saying? I need to have very precise rules to follow, and then know, look, man, if you show up and do this every week, this month is going to be profitable. And if you do that 12 times, your business is going to grow in a year. And I had a similar experience like you did with my family, where I was going through a lot of changes. I was moving and meeting Riley, and a lot of things were happening. And I realized that if I really wanted to live the life that I was telling people I wanted to live, that I was going to need to respect my business more. And then putting her involved in my business has really made an impact too. Getting her involved, I shouldn't say putting her. Getting her involved, giving her half ownership of the business and giving her control over a lot of things. And she has say in a lot of things. She's on a call right now doing stuff. So giving her that then makes me show up with my trading and be more responsible, because it's like, bro, are you going to really mess around when she's involved and your future's involved and our future kids and our future house and all this stuff? You're going to disrespect that? So then I've now kind of brought myself down to earth. I cooled the gambler off. I've got this plan. I've got a reason to follow the plan, which is my
Sure.
why, all of those things. And then it all kind of drives it home together. But that's how I developed my strategy. But it showed me too, as I was doing that, that you don't really ever find there's one specific way, like I was saying before, to make money. Have you found that a lot of traders are in competition with each other and that almost kills them? Because I made a post once and I got ripped up by some other internet guru. I had this other fucking post where I said something like, trading is not a zero-sum game. Just because I win doesn't mean you need to lose.
Sure.
We can both win. The market is massive. Now, I get what you're saying about the buyers and sellers, and I get what people say, but I disagree in the idea that it has to be a zero sum.
Yeah.
What do you think?
No, I totally agree. But I think it seems to be the way 90% of human beings are wired, in as much as if someone's found success, we need to find a way to kind of hate on it and tag on it. It's nobody can kind of see someone that's had a good experience and found success and work their ass off to get to where they are and be able to say, do you know what? Fucking good job, mate. Well done.
Yeah.
That's really good. Everyone instead turn around and just be like, well, yeah, but, and there's always a reason as to why someone's wrong. And I think, yeah, trading, especially in this industry, like, I think what people neglect to kind of to look at is we're all fucking retail traders, man. At the end of the day, we're all wearing the same colors. We're all on the same team. And yet so many of these people are just battling it out with each other.
Your way is wrong.
But how much of that is kind of bought in because this is actually marketers battling it out for customers to get people on their crappy link where they've got nothing to offer somebody.
You know why?
So they are in competition with each other.
Exactly. They need to, bro. They need to fight because they're fighting to win over sales. I'm not in the business. I'm very grateful. Our business is doing really well. Trading has been doing well for me the last 4 years. I'm not in the business anymore of convincing anybody of anything. My parents, none of them. You know, when I'm not, like, again, I've separated a lot from my family because of their disagreements with what I do. But you just start to separate and you just start to see that as you do better, people don't really like to see that. They don't like to give you the yo, you're really killing it, bro. Like, is there anything that I can do to help or maybe be involved in this? They don't want to see that. But successful traders do. Why do you think I wanted to do this interview? Like, to get these videos going with other people that share that mindset. It's like, yeah, people that actually make money trading realize that there is no competition between us because we're all on that, like you said, we're all in the same colors. We're all on the same team. We're competing against these other, if anything, we're competing against the bigger banks, you maybe could say. But to me, I don't even really care because I don't know who they are. I don't know where it is. I don't know anything about it. My competition is with myself. I've found a lot of motivation to compete with myself, to show up every day and be better than I was the day before, because that's making me more money if I compete with myself. But when I compete with so-and-so who has 200K followers or so-and-so who has 75K followers, it's like, what are we doing here? Or we're just we're like, dude, you know, 6ix9ine. 6ix9ine just makes stuff to make stuff. You know what I mean? He's just beefing with rappers just to beef because he's not really a rapper, right?
But he's clever in the way that he's done that. And so many of these other marketers are as well, because it gives them clout and it gives them a following.
We need a meme right now. IML equals the 6ix9ine of trading.
Someone do that, right? It's got to be.
Someone watching this video will do it in email. I guarantee.
People just genuinely want that drama and they want to see people falling out and they want to see, like, no one wants to see two people getting on, having a conversation of value. Like, everyone instead would, like, I guarantee if we do another video after this where we just shout at each other and tear each other's throats out, that video will get more views than this one.
They love it.
It really would.
But dude, that's the thing that, so going back to what you said before, we live in this day and age of appearance. Like, look at Grant Cardone. Grant's like, attention is attention. It doesn't matter how I get it. He goes on Instagram Live, talks about he's bankrupt. Everybody goes crazy, comes on the next day. He's like, yo, sign up for my webinar. I ain't bankrupt, motherfucker. Come on. You know what I'm saying? It's attention. We live. So it's like, you get to choose now. Do you want to play the game, go get the money out of the safe, take the picture, get the car, do this, that? Or do you want to just come around where I stand, where you stand, I think, and the Gary Vee approach of, look, I'm going to eat shit in the beginning because no one wants to see what you're doing when you first start. But then I'm going to get good enough to bring you value long term so that when these other marketers and other fakers, gurus, mentors, whatever, when they fade, my real value can't anymore. I've got Instagram posts for weeks. I've got videos for weeks. Like, I've got content for days when your guru guy is already looking for his next company to bounce to. You
Sure.
know what I
And
mean?
that's the longevity of it as well, isn't it? When it's fake, the fake eventually it either runs out or it comes through. And when it's you,
So
it
true.
doesn't matter whether people don't care at the beginning. Like I sat on like 150, 200 followers for months, like literally. And it was just a case of, do I just give people what they want to see? Like, do I just become that kind of,
You can.
do I start putting posts? And I kind
Stop.
of came to the
Stop.
conclusion of myself of, if I'm going to put something up that a day later I'm going to want to delete, just don't fucking post it because it's not you. Like, only put something on there that I'm going to be happy for someone to scroll back through the
Dude,
last
and
six
even
months, year, and pull it up.
you got the kids too. Think about it like, do I want my kids to look back on my business and see this?
Yep.
That's how I think. You know what I mean? I'm like, I don't want my legacy to be built on. Remember, Austin provided value, but then that one time he did take that picture with all that honey on his desk or on the bed. And like people will just like Tim Sykes, the penny stock guy, he'll justify it
Sure.
and be like, it gets attention and motivates my students. It's like, yeah, some of them, but I would rather educate than motivate in this
I totally
scenario.
agree.
There's a good place for motivation in these YouTube videos, in Instagram lives, stories. It's a good spot for motivation, but like in your value, that's not where your motivation should come. That's where your
Sure.
education should.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you something. Speaking about education, actually, I've been thinking about this idea of trading as an art or a science. I wanted to hear your thoughts on it. Do you think it's more of an art or more of a science?
For me, 100%. And this is something I've thought this for a very long time. So I'll be interested to hear your thoughts as well. But for me, it's 100% an art. And the reason I think it's an art is because I'm not a believer of fundamental analysis. So I don't believe in forecasting and reading news reports and trying to predict what is going to happen. I believe in reading a chart and analyzing a chart. And I think everyone, like it doesn't matter how many people, you can have two traders in a room or 200. You could give them all the same chart, all the same time frame, and I guarantee not one of those charts will look the same. If it was
100%.
science, everything would come back as the same template. People would be finding the same stuff. And I understand that there's maths involved and there is an aspect of science in terms of using Fibonacci's. I personally love Fibonacci's and stuff like that. So I get that that is mathematical and science. But for me, no, it is 100% an art form because everyone is different. And that is the beautiful thing about it. If we were to both to sit here and analyze the same currency pair now, and you sent me your chart and I sent you mine, I would have no right to look at your chart and say that's wrong because
Right.
it's like you doing a drawing. It's like you doing a painting and me
Sure.
looking at it and saying you painted
That
that
is
wrong.
that's a good perspective. I could agree with that. My feelings towards it are it's trading is an art in the sense that it's subjective. However, there is an objective part of trading that has to be abide by. There's rules that underlie the market that hold the market together that we have to follow. So to me, there's some objective piece to it, trend, price moving in a certain direction. Those are objective things that we really can't argue about. If price is
Yeah,
making
sure.
higher lows and higher highs, you can't really fight that
But
trend.
the
Now you
fact,
can draw shorter term trends and things like that, but there's a piece of it that is the science, the objective piece. But I would
sure,
definitely agree with you and say that most of it, 51% of it, is an art more than a science, just because that's really who we are. We're retail discretionary traders. Discretionary
sure,
means we have to apply our own discretion, our own knowledge,
of
experience,
course,
thoughts, and ideas into the chart. That is art, absolutely, because you're formulating something that other people can't necessarily formulate exactly the same way. So yeah,
of
I
course.
think it's a mixture of the two. But I wanted to also one more question for you to wrap this up here. As we go into the rest of the year, with everything going on with Bitcoin and gold and the dollar and with this economic shutdown, where's your focus for the rest of the year or even the next 6 months? What are you looking to improve upon? And specifically, if you can be, where are you looking to make money? In what
So
markets?
in terms of, for me, this sounds absolutely ridiculous now, but I got asked a question like this probably going back 6 or 7 weeks ago. It's before all the lockdown and everything started. And
Sure.
someone physically asked me what I thought where the euro was going, and my answer was I don't fucking know. Like I get up in the morning, I get up at 5:30, I
Yeah.
load my charts up,
So you're
and
just a believer.
I trade what I see on a chart. Like
Yep.
I'm not into forecasting. I think for me it just creates a level of kind of disappointment, and you get this. you get this vision in your head of something that you need to trade. So you forecast it and you say, well, the dollar's going to go down, and you spend the next 6 months looking for shorts on the dollar, when in actual fact, I think,
it creates like a
yeah,
narrative that's not necessarily true. It's just your perception, right? I agree.
exactly. So for me, it's kind of like I step away from that. My favorite pair, without a doubt, to trade is Euro JPY, which is approaching a massive area at the moment. So it'd be interesting over the next few months. But it's a case of I don't necessarily have bias. I don't have forecasts. I don't. And the guy looked at me like I was insane. You call yourself a trader and you don't know
Yeah,
where the
but see,
euro is
I'm
going to go.
the same way. But these guys are long-term investors. They don't understand the capabilities of the technology that we have now, how
Of
easy it is
course,
to be a short-term trader. They don't get it, a lot of them.
sure. But for me, if we're looking long term, so last year we took a really, really good trade on gold. We took gold from 13 to 16, which
Right.
was it's probably one of the best trades we've ever
Well, did
taken.
you trade that off the daily chart on the break of the ascending? It was a descending pennant formation at like
Yeah,
1270, 12.
it
Yep.
was, mate. Honestly, it was for me especially. It was like it's probably my wife's always been swing trading. That's
Yeah.
always what she's done, as where I've always kind of focused on the 15 minute and the hour, and that was
Yeah.
the first proper trade that I took that I was prepared to hold for a considerable amount of time. The swap charges made me feel ill, but that's a completely kind of different subject. I'll get over that. It's fine. But for me, I think if the money's there to be made on the markets, gold is only going one way, and gold is going up. Like the world is not getting more stable. The world is not becoming a better place. And gold is going to continue to climb. I'm convinced. But I said the other day to somebody, gold in the next 10 years, gold will strike 3,000, 4,000, and people are like,
Oh,
nah,
absolutely.
it's not going to
Absolutely.
happen. But it's not.
They're,
Gold is not going down.
they're wrong. They're just so wrong. I'll argue with them about that till the death of me, bro. If you don't see 3,000 by the end of summer, something's
Yeah,
wrong.
yeah. But it's insane. But you're not allowed to have these. That's the one thing that I will. Will I trade it? I don't know. Maybe, probably not. If I'm being honest, I rarely trade gold. I've kind of found that people that only trade gold have got a really kind of strong gambling streak in them,
Well, they
and
like the
it's
volatility in it. I agree.
exactly. But I
Yes.
mean, like, if you like trading gold, trade GJ.
Right.
Like, sit on GJ,
Absolutely.
man. GJ's got loads of volatility. Like, focus.
GN, NEA, GCAD, any of those really right
Exactly.
now.
So like
Yeah.
it's, but I don't know. Maybe that's completely out of context. Maybe I'll get a lot of
Well,
hate for
listen,
saying that for the people that are trading gold. But like,
listen, if you're watching the video, drop in the comments down below. Do you agree with Dan and I that we are both long-term believers in gold? I would assume then that you're probably a long-term believer in some capacity of cryptocurrency, something going digital, something going to technology.
I definitely think the world will move to
Yeah.
digital currency,
Yeah.
100%. And again, Bitcoin, I think realistically is only going to go in one direction. But I have traded cryptos 3 times in my life,
Yeah.
and that's just it doesn't respect my analysis the same as
Bro, we are
forex
the same.
currency does.
I've said the same thing to people. It doesn't respect my way of trading. It's just
So
different. That's why I don't trade it. Yep, 100%, dude. That's
I
crazy that
stay
we're so
clear of
similar.
it. I stay clear. I watch it. I monitor it. I watch what it's doing. I love how it moves. I respect the guys that do trade it. Fair play to them. But for me, as I say, I'll keep an eye on it. But no, it's not for me long term. It's not, and it's not something I would. I mean, you never know. Like maybe in a few years' time, we won't have a choice.
Right.
Who
It's true.
knows?
Dude, that's what I'm saying. So we'll have, maybe that's when we'll do part 2 of our interview. But for everybody that's listening, we appreciate you so much. Dan, where can everybody find you? Give them your Instagram. Oh, and then tell us where you came up with the name for your Instagram.
So it's at TP_effects, and it was just we had a week where we hit like 7 or 8 take profits, and it was like we go with TP effects,
Ah,
and
I
then it
get
was
it.
just like, okay, well, how about just doing it as a TP? And then my wife's cousin threw the logo together in like 10 minutes, but people seem to love it. Like,
I
how
love
did
it,
you
bro.
come up with
No,
the
I
idea for the logo? And I'm like, I didn't. Like, that's Craig. Shout out to Craig. So like, that's all him. That's nothing to do with me at all. But it's just
so
it fell in place. It was literally a couple of days and just made it happen. So yeah, at TP_effects.
awesome. Well, thank you again, brother. And like I'm saying, I think we'll do another one of these soon. Drop in the comments. Let me know if you guys found some value in the conversation. Any questions for me and Dan? His info is linked in the description. We appreciate you guys very much, and we'll see you in the next video.